It is September 28th, 2024, and you are listening to Sports Chowder with me, Sam Stebbins. Today I am previewing the Patriots matchup in San Francisco. I am talking the Celtics Media Day, the Red Sox elimination from the playoffs, and more. Now, first of all, the 49ers are 1-2. They lost in stunning fashion 27-24 to the Rams in LA last week. That is extra surprising because the 49ers fans absolutely outnumbered the Rams fans at the stadium in Los Angeles, but that is how the NFL in LA tends to work. They also lost Week 2 to the Vikings in Minnesota. Entering Week 4, the 49ers are dealing with plenty of injuries. Wide receiver Deebo Samuel is doubtful after a Week 2 injury versus Minnesota. Tight end George Kittle has been limited at practice this week. Running back Christian McCaffrey is definitely out, and defensive tackle Javon Hargrave is also out. Quarterback Brock Purdy had an injury scare. There are rumors that he may not be playing this week, but he is currently active for Sunday. Despite having identical records, the Patriots are underdogs in this matchup. I think that's for good reason, of course. And if the Patriots want a chance at winning, or at least having a close or close-ish game, they will need to establish a run-heavy offense quickly, with Stevenson and Gibson shouldering a lot of the offensive weight. Now, the 49ers defense has had some difficulty shutting down rushing plays. They are 22nd in the league, allowing 4.5 yards per carry on average, so the Patriots are definitely going to try and take advantage of that blind spot for the 49ers. As for New England's defense, we need a return to form or better, because even without some of their top weapons, San Francisco has an intimidating offense. Last week versus LA, Juwan Jennings went off with 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. The Patriots cannot let him have another game like that. We need to shut him down. Overall, this will be a steep challenge facing a team like the 49ers looking for a bounce-back win at home. Now, I don't plan to be watching live. I'll watch the game probably on Monday through NFL Plus, because I plan to be at a music festival in my town if the weather holds. That night, Noah Khan, who is a fellow New Englander, will be performing, and I'm very excited to see him, so I hope that works out. Okay, now that my little flex is over, back to the Patriots. So, if the offense looks ugly like last week in New Jersey, fans and the media, including myself, are going to keep wondering and asking about the timeline for Drake May to start at quarterback. This week he's taken about 30% of the starting quarterback reps, which is a really interesting occurrence. I really think he could be starting as early as week 5. I mean, a lot of the coaches have started singing his praises and talking about how he's looked strong at practice and last week in the game against the Jets. So I think we're preparing for the possibility of Drake May starting sooner rather than later. I hope that's the case. I think he, of course, gives the Patriots their best shot at winning games. And while he's not a magic cure-all for this season, I believe he is an investment in the future. If we play him, he'll be better for next season, and going forward, he'll be more prepared for different situations he'll be in as our quarterback. So I hope that happens soon. I think it'll be a welcome change. And even when we lose, at least we'll learn things about Drake May, and Drake will learn things about himself in the NFL. And, the sooner the better, because, the sooner you can make certain mistakes, the sooner you can move on and learn from them. So I really hope Drake May is starting week 5 in Foxborough against Miami. Not that I'm rooting against the Patriots, against the 49ers, but I'm feeling like we'll lose, and if we lose, I think that'll be the final sign that it's time to start Drake. But I have no idea what's happening in the coaches' meetings, and I'm really interested to see what their plan is and to see it come to fruition in regards to the quarterback position this year. Now, there is a story worth talking about in regards to the Patriots' defense. As you may know, linebacker and team captain Jawan Bentley suffered a torn pectoral muscle versus Seattle, and this week he was added to the injured reserve. That leaves a vacancy at team captain, and on Wednesday, Coach Mayo announced that safety Kyle Duggar will replace him as captain. He joins Jarrell Peppers, David Andrews, Jacoby Brissett, Joe Cardona, and Dietrich Wise as Patriots captains for this season. I am glad to see Kyle Duggar in a leadership position. He has been with us since we drafted him back in 2020. And according to Coach Mayo, he and Jawan were neck and neck in team voting for captain, so he really is someone respected by his peers. Now, a fun Kyle Duggar stat is that last season he led the league in defensive touchdowns with 3. I certainly hope to see more defensive touchdowns on Kyle's part this year. Shifting gears to basketball, Tuesday was Celtics Media Day at Arbach Center, and I've compiled a list of my favorite quotes from our players and Coach Mazzulla just because I am getting very excited for the upcoming NBA season with our defending champion Boston Celtics. Now, the first quote I really liked is from none other than Jason Tatum. He was asked about Coach Mazzulla's message amid his ups and downs during the offseason, meaning the fact he did not win Finals MVP and the fact that he did not play in 2 of the Olympic Games for Team USA. Jason said, quote, "Joe was probably the happiest person in the world that I didn't win Finals MVP and that I didn't play in 2 of the games in the Olympics. So that was odd, but if you know Joe, it makes sense," unquote. I love this because this is a clear example of the fact that Coach Mazzulla sees opportunity for improvement in everything. You know, he sees how Jason's feeling about not being Finals MVP, not getting to be a bigger part of Team USA's gold medal during the Olympics, and he knows this is motivation for Jason. You know, it's going to make Jason be better and work harder. And I really think that's going to be the case. I mean, they know each other pretty well. They've worked together for a few years now, and I think this could be a great season for Jason Tatum with all of that in the back of his mind the whole year. The next quote is from Coach Mazzulla. He said, quote, "I wouldn't say I enjoyed the offseason. I enjoyed the parade. I thought the parade was a rather intense experience," unquote. Now, first of all, calling the duck boat parade intense is very funny, but also kind of true. I mean, when Boston celebrates a championship, they go crazy. So, I think it's not inaccurate to call it intense, but still a funny word to choose. But secondly, I love that he did not enjoy the offseason. No coach should enjoy the offseason. I don't care if you just won a championship or you just won 2 in a row or 3 in a row. You got to stay hungry, and if you don't stay hungry, you should be done. Now, the next quote is Joe Mazzulla further elaborating on the offseason. Quote, "The world tries to keep you attached to the past. The world tries to keep you attached to your latest success or your latest failure. And that's where people get stuck where they're in, is attachment. And so it was a balance of, I can't be attached to this past success. It would be the same as being attached to a past failure," unquote. Now, I think his wording there was a bit off, but the overall message is clear. You can't be defined by your success or your failure. You know, you have to keep moving forward. So, I love that. I love that Mazzulla has that mindset. All of these quotes that he has are just crazy in the best way possible. The next quote is from Al Horford. He said, quote, "I don't think it was ever a question that I was going to not come back. I never put a limit on how long I'm going to play. I feel good and I'm very fortunate to be in this position," unquote. Now, of course, there was a lot of speculation that Al Horford could retire after this season, especially after the Celtics won a title. And I'm really glad that he never really considered that. You know, he wants to keep playing for as long as possible. And, you know, I hope he plays for 1 or 2 more seasons and maybe we'll win 1 or 2 more championships with him. You know, I love him and I don't want to see him go anytime soon. The next quote is from Derek White. He said, quote, "My teeth are getting better. I had to go to the dentist on Friday. I got 3 root canals, so that was fun," unquote. Now, as you may or may not remember, Derek White chipped his teeth Game 5 versus Dallas. Now, the quote itself, you know, it's not laugh out loud funny, but it shows his dedication. You know, it shows what he's willing to go through to be ready for the season. I mean, it's not your traditional basketball injury, but 3 root canals, that is just very unfortunate. But I'm excited to see him back. I'm excited to see his teeth restored. I love Derek White. He's really a man of the people, so I appreciate what he's willing to go through for the Celtics. The next quote is from Jaylen Brown, and the context is that he was asked about not being included on the Olympic team this year and how he feels about starting a new season after all of that drama. He said, quote, "I'm extremely motivated for obvious reasons. I'm ready to get out there," unquote. Now, typical Jaylen Brown, pretty short and to the point, but again, it shows motivation. I love seeing both Jason and Jaylen motivated for different reasons and united in purpose, so I hope that leads to some real fireworks this year. I really believe this season will be a very special one for the Boston Celtics. Not only was there drama with the Olympic team for both Jason and Jaylen, but right now you're hearing a lot of media figures saying that the Celtics had a very easy title run. People are seriously saying things like, oh, the Celtics aren't going to be intimidating anyone this year. And it's just ridiculous, you know? The same people who uniformly picked Dallas to beat Boston in the finals are now saying that the Celtics had no real challenge in the postseason and that this year they're going to be clobbered because they're not up to the challenge. They're not really that great. They're overhyped, and when they face real competitors, they'll be done. To those media figures, I say, keep spewing that anti-Boston manure. See where that gets you. You'll just see a very motivated Celtics team destroying your team of choice, your superstar of choice, and perhaps a new era Celtics dynasty rising. I really believe Joe Mazzulla. Now, I love all of the players on our roster. I think both Jason and Jaylen have the chance to be remembered as 2 of the greatest players of all time. That being said, Joe Mazzulla is the key to this team. I really see Joe as a crazy, intense genius of basketball. I think he's going to build a dynasty with Boston. You know, I'm not satisfied with 1 or 2 championships. I think there'll be up to 5, maybe even more banners hanging from the rafters when Joe Mazzulla retires from the Celtics. I really hope Joe Mazzulla gets to be a Celtics lifer. I think he is that much of a genius that we should just keep bringing him back as long as the wins keep coming in. I hope the Celtics organization recognizes the basketball mind they have in Coach Mazzulla, because a lot of great things are to come if we keep him around for years to come. Now, the biggest news out of Media Day is that we finally got a timeline for the return of Kristaps Porzingis. He underwent a medical procedure this summer to help with his injury, and when he was asked by the media when he expects to return, he said probably by December. Now, I don't think we need to rush this. I think we should be very careful with Kristaps. We don't want him coming back too early and then re-injuring himself, possibly in a worse manner. I think when Kristaps is really and truly ready to return, a strong Celtics team will become even stronger. Regardless, it's really nice to have a timeline on his return, and I will be very happy to see him back at TD Garden this year. Now for the penultimate Red Sox update. In the past week, the Sox won a series against the Twins 2-1 and won a series against the Blue Jays 2-1. However, with Wednesday's loss to Toronto and Kansas City's win over the Nationals the same day, the Red Sox were officially eliminated from the playoffs. It is the 5th time in 6 years Boston has missed the postseason. Of course, I'm disappointed, even though for the past couple of weeks it was clear the Red Sox were in all likelihood missing the playoffs. It's still disappointing, We have some talent. We showed some signs of life at different junctures of this season, but ultimately we could not make it happen. I really sincerely hope in this offseason we are much more aggressive in free agency. The Boston Red Sox are an iconic, marquee franchise of Major League Baseball. Let's act like it again. I am excited that we have some of the top prospects in baseball playing in our minor league system right now. That gives me hope. It keeps me from being too down in the dumps right now, but I sincerely hope to see some changes in how we operate this offseason. As for the remainder of the 2024 season, we have one 3-game series against the Tampa Bay Rays at Fenway Park this weekend. While the Sox are of course out of the postseason conversation, this series does have implications for our future. If the Sox get swept, we have a likely top 10 draft pick next year. If the Sox win one, we have a .500 record and we finish third in the American League East. If the Sox win two, we have our first winning season since 2021, and if we sweep the Tampa Bay Rays, we will potentially receive the 17th pick in the 2025 MLB draft. So there is at least some motivation for us Sox fans to watch or at least follow along with the final 3 games of the 2024 Red Sox season. Now for the Boston Free Game of the Week, the segment where I pick a game I am looking forward to that has nothing to do with the city of Boston. This week I went with another college game, the USC Trojans taking on the Wisconsin Badgers at the historic LA Memorial Coliseum. This game is significant for a few reasons. First of all, it is USC's first time hosting a conference opponent since joining the Big Ten this year. It is also Wisconsin's first game against a Big Ten opponent this season. Both the Badgers and the Trojans are 2-1. Wisconsin lost Week 3 to Alabama in a blowout, and USC lost Week 4 to number 12 Michigan in Ann Arbor. This will be Wisconsin's first game back from their bye week. Clearly both teams need a bounce-back win. Now, I am rooting for Wisconsin. I have an aunt, uncle, and several cousins who are up in Madison, and on top of that, Friday was my cousin Maisie's birthday, and it would be really cool if Wisconsin pulled off the upset for her. It would certainly be an upset win if the Badgers pulled it off. They are without their starting quarterback Tyler Van Duke. He is out for the year with a torn ACL. If they're going to win, they're going to need to establish the run game early and use it often. The Badger defense will have to contend with the Lincoln Riley offense. That will be very hard to shut down. That being said, it will be hard but not impossible. And it would be really awesome for Wisconsin to welcome the fans out in LA to the Big Ten in epic fashion. And now primetime picks, where I make my picks for the next week of primetime NFL matchups. Now, first of all, I want to note I was 3-1 last week in my picks. I was wrong about the Bengals. They lost again this week to the Commanders. And the Cowboys came dangerously close to losing Thursday night to the Giants. Apparently, it was one of the worst Thursday night games ever, and I, for one, am very happy I was not watching. Now, as for this week, let's start with Sunday Night Football. This week it is the Bills at the Ravens. I am going with the Ravens, even though they are 1-2 and the Bills are 3-0. I'm doing this for a couple of reasons. First of all, the Ravens are coming off their first win of the year in Dallas, and they'll be coming home, and I think off that momentum, they'll get a win over Buffalo. And second of all, I hate the Bills so much, so I cannot pick them this week. I just cannot bring myself to do that. I hope they lose, and I hope it's very embarrassing. Moving on to Monday Night Football, it is another doubleheader. At 6:30 p.m. Central Time on ESPN, the Titans play the Dolphins in Miami. I'm going with Miami. Not that I like the Dolphins at all, but the Titans need a new quarterback. Their current quarterback is terrible, and he did a terrible mayonnaise commercial earlier this year, and that is why they are doing so poorly. So until they replace him, they won't be winning much. The second game is at 7:15 p.m. Central Time on ABC. The Seahawks face the Lions in Detroit. This is Seattle's first real test with their new head coach, and I'm going to go with Detroit. I think they'll get the home win. I think Seattle will fight a good fight but ultimately lose. Finally, Week 5 begins on Thursday Night Football when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers face the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta. Now, I am going with Atlanta. I think they'll win a close game. Just a gut feeling based on their recent results. I don't know too much about either team, to be honest with you. And now, Assorted Awesome, the part of the show when I talk about something that is 100% awesome, with no caveats. On Monday, Celtics star Jaylen Brown made a major announcement. He is launching his own performance brand, called 741. The main product is his signature sneaker, the Rover. At the launch, Brown said that 741 is more than just a simple sneaker brand. It is a statement about independence, creativity, and ownership. Jaylen said the inspiration for launching this business was his own boredom and the desire to do something creative that may inspire future athletes. Now, I love Jaylen Brown for many reasons, on and off the court, and one of them is the fact that he really marches to the beat of his own drum. He was last officially repped by a sneaker company back in 2021 when Adidas let his deal expire, and since then Jaylen has passed on over $50 million worth of endorsement deals with different sneaker brands. So I love this. I think it's really creative and unique, and I hope it sets a trend. It's just so cool that Jaylen Brown is doing the interesting and difficult thing of launching your own business instead of just taking the $1 million endorsement deal. Most people, including myself if I were a foot taller and a basketball player, would take that deal. But not Jaylen Brown, and that's why we love him. I hope this business is successful and inspiring for years to come. That is all I have for this week of Sports Chowder. You can follow me on X at Stebbins Tweets. You can follow the show at sports_chowder. You can follow the show on Instagram at Sports Chowder and like the show on Facebook. Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate your support. I will return next week with another portion of Sports Chowder, the show that discusses, celebrates, and/or laments the state of Boston sports.